Irish Media Network. We entertain.
Good evening and welcome to Irish Media Network Sports Update. I'm your host, Joe Caulfield, and on tonight's show we're going to be talking once again about football, but we're going to be focusing on domestic football and the League of Ireland. So last week, the interim Deputy CEO, Niall Quinn, and Competition Secretary, Fran Gavin, met with club representatives and representatives of the PFAI to talk about a return date for the League of Ireland, hopefully for August 14th. So there's going to be lots for the FAI and the clubs to do in the interim period to ensure that happens. So I'm going to be talking to my guest today about that and about how players are actually dealing with the lockdown period as it stands. So without further ado, joining me on this week's show is former Bows and Shamrock Rovers player, currently with Shelbourne, fresh off their promotion to the Premier Division of the League of Ireland. Luke Byrne is here with me. Luke,
Hey
how are
Joe,
things?
how are you? Not bad, thank you.
Excellent. So come here, I suppose, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining me. How's lockdown going for you?
It's been okay. I mean, it's gone on an awful long time now. Didn't envisage it going on this long. Can't complain really. I've been kept healthy. Family have been healthy and stuff, so that's the main thing. But it's getting very repetitive now. I'm really looking forward to getting back to normality, please God, sooner before later.
Yeah, I think everyone's in the same boat there. In terms of, I suppose, kind of strength and conditioning, maintaining your fitness, what are you doing to kind of manage that on a daily and weekly basis?
Well, we've got 3 or 4 Zooms a week with our strength conditioning coach and the rest of the staff. So that's kind of the structure of our week. For me personally, that's all I've really got going on at the moment. So it's great to kind of keep that interaction with everybody. And obviously, Zoom makes us all very accessible and it allows the coach to kind of keep an eye on us. So alongside that, we've got GPS fests and we've got running programs that change kind of week to week and month to month,
Right.
which we've got to go out and do on our own. And the staff can then check on an app and make sure we're kind of covering the distances and the speeds that are required in the session. And those kind of sessions have changed as the kind of start date for the league has been pushed back, because initially it was a case of 2 weeks and it was just maintaining fitness, and then it looked like it would go on a bit longer. So we kind of took a bit of a rest with the idea of kind of peaking towards, I suppose, what would have been the middle of April, which was the next kind of start date we were given. And as it's been pushed back, in fairness, the staff have been very good. They've tailored and altered the training sessions based on, like I said, when we will start back. So now we're kind of aiming for the middle of August with training at the start of July. So after a couple of weeks there of kind of tapering down the run and keeping up the strength work, we're back into tough running and speed sessions starting yesterday. So that's kind of the latest.
And is it all, it's obviously all individual stuff, like there's no group training or anything like that. Can you do even like, I suppose, kind of tactical training of any kind or anything like that? Or is it just physical fitness you're working on at the moment?
Obviously, under the government guidelines, you were allowed to meet in groups of up to 4 as of a couple of weeks ago, but we weren't allowed, rightfully so, because obviously if and when we do get back, the testing will be a big issue, and the longer we're kept apart, the more chance of having, I suppose, less positive tests. And if one of us were infected and we were meeting up, I suppose that increases the chances of some of our team being wiped out by it. So no, we've all been kept apart, and other than Zoom, really haven't had, any contact. So luckily my brother's a goalkeeper, so I've been going out with him a bit because I live with him, so I can go out and bury him with a few balls. But other than that, yeah, it's all done alone. We've also had stuff like mental health and well-being sessions done with our sports psychiatrist, Danny Mealy. They've been brilliant. Just checking up on everybody and kind of helping us put a bit of structure into our lives, because obviously we're used to a very structured kind of schedule with training and games, and that's been taken away from us. So they've been very beneficial. And then we've also done like you said, tactical sessions, like watching video sessions, whether it be one-on-one with the coaches over Zoom or in your units or just as a team. And there's also been some kind of personal analysis assignments which we've had to do, and we have all our games from the season up on our huddle page. So there's been loads of contact and loads of content, and in fairness, the club and the staff have done everything they possibly can, and given the circumstances.
That's amazing, because my next question was going to be, how are players dealing with the mental side of things, as in the lack of the group dynamic, having a training to go to every single day, being part of that, being looked after by all your coaching staff, being told this is the regime you need to stick to. When you're devoid of that, you can kind of be a little bit aimless. It seems like you're being really well managed at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think the last thing you said was key. It can become aimless, especially when start dates keep getting pushed back and you don't know if it's definitely going to start back again. So while you keep training, if you're training without an aim, it's very difficult. I mean, difficult, I suppose, on one hand to stay motivated, but mainly you just don't know what you're aiming for. What date do you need to be fit by? There's so many elements that go into the physical training in terms of obviously you're trying to do a bit of ball work, your strength, your fitness, agility, match related stuff. And again, it's all really tailored towards when the season would start. That's what our whole kind of year is built around. Yeah. And when that's taken away, suppose you could be a little bit blind in terms of what to do, and then before you know it, the structure of your week is out the window, and 1 week becomes 2 weeks where you don't really know what you're training for. But the staff have been very good. They've kept us informed of everything, and the training plans have changed, so that kind of stimulates you. And they're changing every couple of weeks. You're not going out doing the same sessions, because when it gets that repetitive, it can get very boring. So while it is tough, we can't have any complaints. We've been looked after very well, and it's been enjoyable.
Yeah, no, it sounds that the communication and the contact has been fantastic from them. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about kind of Shelbourne particularly. So obviously your career has gone from Bows to Shamrock Rovers to Shelbourne in the last year. Joining Shelbourne, you went on an incredible run, and it resulted in promotion to the Premier Division, which I just mentioned. Talk to me about last season. Talk to me about coming into a team with a new manager, new players such as yourself, new tactics, to having a rocky start, then going on an incredible run, and then that culminating in promotion. Tell me a little bit about last year.
Yeah, so to begin with, I was out of contract at Shamrock Rovers. I'd been out injured for 6 months with an ankle injury. I had to have surgery on that. So I was kind of at a crossroads as to what to do. And I could see Shelbourne, where they'd gotten a new manager and they were signing some Premier Division players who have won the Premier Division and played a lot of games and stuff. And they were getting a very kind of well-known squad together. So that was something I was kind of watching from afar. And then luckily, Ian Morris, the manager, gave me a shout and asked me to join. So that was an opportunity I jumped at. Obviously, I'm a Dublin lad. They encouraged me to combine playing with going back to education, which I did. And also the opportunity to play a new position, which was really what I was looking for from my new club. I'd spoke to a few clubs, but I was really holding out for a club that would play me centre half. So thankfully, after talking to the manager, it became clear that's where he saw me playing. So, like you said, the start of the season was quite rocky. I think there was a lot of expectation on us. People saw maybe that we had a lot of players who had a lot of experience, and maybe some more high-profile players than a lot of the clubs in the First Division. So straight away, we were expected really to just blow everyone away and win every game. But it was never going to be the case, because there's so many new players and a new manager, and these things take time to gel. And first 6 games, I think we maybe won 3, lost 3, something like that, and we were kind of 5th or 6th. But we never lost confidence. We knew that if we put a good run together, we would get to the top of the league. And with it being 9 games shorter than the Premier Division, I suppose there was that little bit of added pressure that you needed to do it sooner rather than later, because
of course,
you can't be 12 to 15 games in still trying to find your rhythm, because the league will get away from you. But we went on a run then of about, I think it was maybe 11 wins and a draw in 12 games, and we kept 10 clean sheets, and that was kind of the catalyst for us. We went top after maybe halfway through that run, and we never looked back. We never came out of top spot. So It was brilliant. It was a brilliant end to the season up in Drogheda. In fairness to them, they stuck with us right away to the end. And had they beaten us that night, it would have gone back into their hands. But we played well and we deserved the win. And I think over the course of the season, no one could disagree. We were the best team in the league. So
yeah. Tell us what it was like then when you landed back. What was the celebrations like? It must have been an incredible outpouring of joy and emotion after 6 years in the first division to come back to the Premier Division for a club like Shelbourne with such a storied history and a fanatic fan base, I'd say.
Exactly, yeah. The celebrations on the pitch were obviously brilliant, and there's loads of footage of it. And there's like I said before, there's grown men crying on the pitch, and that's kind of when you realise what it really means to people. And I think then when we got back to the stadium and we went into the club bar with a lot of the fans and fans that have been supporting the club, long before any of us were there, and they'll be there long after we're all gone. Like people whose life revolves around Shelbourne. So getting to talk to them and just seeing what it meant to them, that's when it really sinks in what it means. And then from a personal point of view, from like a selfish point of view, you're immediately thinking of Premier Division football, because that's why we all went to Shelbourne, was the opportunity to get back in the Premier. And it's just that realisation that it wasn't too far away. And it was brilliant. It was the best night of my career anyway.
That's class. But you mentioned a little bit earlier how you had a little bit of an ankle injury at the end of your Shamrock Rovers career, and I actually read that you had surgery 3 times in 5 seasons with Shamrocks, one of which was a cruciate ligament injury. How difficult is that to come back from and to kind of push through when you have continual injuries?
Yeah, it's tough. The toughest part is probably being labelled as an injury-prone player. That's because that can be a tag that's quite hard to shake. And that was something I found when I left the club, that I was speaking to various clubs and they all had that worry about me, which I couldn't argue. Like it was there for everyone to see. I'd had these injuries and missed a lot of games. But thankfully, since I signed for Shells, I think I've missed maybe 3 games out of about 50 since I signed. So I'd like to think I've put that behind me. But yeah, it was tough. Like, the ankle injury was 6 months, and it was more annoying than serious. We just couldn't diagnose it. I went to see a lot of specialists and doctors, and we couldn't really find out what was wrong with me. But once it got sorted, it was quite a straightforward injury. It just took probably longer than I would have liked. I had a couple of knee operations. The cruciate one was obviously the big one. I was out for a year with that one. It was tough. Like,
is it difficult to stay motivated when you're going through the rehab of that type of thing?
Personally, no, I didn't find it difficult, because I just wanted to get back so bad, and I just wanted to prove people wrong. So I was never going to throw the towel in. Like, there's times you're going through it and you wonder, will you ever play football again? But it didn't stop me doing my rehab and doing extra sessions to try and get back. I just wanted to give myself the best chance of coming back, and I'd heard and read so much about people saying that players who have got that kind of injury, they're never the same again, or they struggle to get back, whatever it might be. But I just didn't want that to be me. So, and I knew it would just come down to how hard I worked, and I think I did it. Like, I got some great treatment. I was sent abroad for treatment and stuff, and I had a great medical team with Shamrock Rovers who waited on me hand and foot for a year. Saw me, like, the physio was coming out to my house sometimes at 9 or 10 o'clock at night just to see me. So they gave me every chance of getting back, and then it was up to me to put in the work, and I did. So it was tough, but it was a good experience. Yeah,
I suppose it can really be the making of you, in terms of, I'm sure when you get back you appreciate it all the more, because you've had that period of having to work for it just to kind of play football, to return to full fitness. Speaking of which, in terms of return of the league in general, as I mentioned at the top of the show, representative from clubs in the PFAI met with Niall Quinn and Fran Gavin last week, and they're talking about a return for the 14th of August. How realistic is that date in your mind?
Well, I think the way the numbers have been going nationally with the virus, they've obviously been improving, particularly the last week. The cases and stuff are down. So you would like to think that by the middle of August we'll continue on the same kind of path, and the virus won't be as kind of, I suppose, widespread in the community. But a lot of it is, and it's out there for everyone to see. It's not a secret. A lot of it will depend on finances and testing, and the testing's going to have to be rigorous. And clubs, players, the FAI, we're all on the same page. We all want to get football back, and unfortunately, the lack of a big TV deal here means that we haven't really got the money to lean on that other countries do. So that's probably why it's taken a bit longer than some of the other leagues around Europe to really get a fixed start date.
Yeah, and can I ask, in terms of you mentioned a little bit earlier that if it is going to happen in the middle of August, you'll be back to training in the middle of July. I know that in the English Premier League they had a 3-phase process. So phase 1 was very much non-contact. There was bi-weekly COVID testing. There was 70-minute maximums on training. Then it moved to full contact for the second phase, which they're going into now, with a view to returning on the 7th of June. What have you been communicated in terms of what that structure would be like for the League of Ireland?
Well, I think obviously the pilot tournament, which is going ahead with the 4 European clubs, they've started testing, and they'll obviously get back playing before all of us. But with the rest of us are kind of penciled in for the end of June. I think the 29th of June to start training, obviously with the game 6 weeks later. In terms of the phases, I'm not so sure exactly how it's going to be structured. I know at the start it'll have to be small groups of maybe up to 4, keeping our social distance. So obviously there'll be no contact training.
Yeah. And
the coaches will have to come up with sessions that, I suppose, allow you to work in your own zone, or whatever it might be. Obviously we'll have to get back into contact training at some point if we're going to be expected to play games. So, maybe that'll come 2 or 3 weeks down the line.
Yeah.
In that kind of 6-week period before the league starts. But I suppose because nothing is certain yet, we're not actually 100% sure on the final details.
Okay. And I suppose another thing that was the frustrations and concerns put across in that conference call was difficulties around players getting paid and things. What are the main difficulties and concerns facing League of Ireland players at the moment during this period?
I suppose, well, first of all, we obviously all love football, and it's been our lives and our profession for so long, and everyone just wants to get back playing football. That's first and foremost. But obviously, it is a business as well at the end of the day, and the government subsidy scheme is obviously helping to pay players. Clubs have availed of it differently around the league. It's been, reported of different clubs taking wage cuts, and some sets of players and staff have been temporarily laid off. Personally speaking, from Shelbourne point of view, we've been paid in full, which is credit to the club. I'm sure it's been difficult for them to do that with no football and no gate receipts, but they've honoured our contracts 100%, so we're very grateful for that. But without games and without football, I mean, it's obvious that money will dry up at some stage. So that, I suppose, accelerates the need for us to get back playing and get the league going again.
Yeah. Well, look at it. There are a number of things to work out, but at the same time, as you say, I suppose the pressure of what will be lost if there isn't a resumption of the league at some point in the next couple of months might be the impetus that actually gets it going again. So hopefully that is what we'll see. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for on the program. Thank you so much for joining us. We really, really hope to see a return of the League of Ireland, please God, in August. And if not, as soon as date as possible.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Thanks a million. And hopefully you'll see another great run this year from Shelbourne and from Luke.
Please, God.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a million. That's our show for you this week, folks. Thanks a million for Luke for joining me on the show. We're gonna be back at the usual time of live streaming on YouTube and Facebook, as always, at 7 o'clock next Tuesday. In the meantime, look after yourselves and be good.
Irish Media Network.